Welcome back, you all, for Chapter 10, Selecting Toys, Equipment, and Educational Materials. Let me move down here, sorry. Children learn about their world by playing with toys, exploring materials, and interacting with other people. They learn best when provided with a wide range of toys and educational materials that match their abilities, interests, cultures, and languages. This allows them to make choices. Toys play an important role in facilitating the learning process. For instance, children can learn speech and dressing skills while playing with toys. When playing with toys, children often interact with others so they can learn about other people and cultures. They make choices, solve problems, and apply some control over their environment. Developmentally appropriate toys motivate and engage children as active learners. Simple toys like building blocks can promote cognitive growth. For example, if children do not build a strong foundation under their block building, the building will topple. This is a basic physics concept. If they join two semicircular pieces, they make a circle. Using blocks is a way for children to learn mathematical concepts. In early childhood programs, selecting toys and equipment for children is often the teacher's responsibility. In preparation, you will need to determine the children's needs, interests, cultural backgrounds, and skills. You will need to choose the materials that would best meet all of those needs. Safety is a concern when selecting toys. Choking and improper use cause the majority of injuries in childhood. Developmentally appropriate toys can help reduce the number of injuries. The program goals, budget, and curriculum will influence which materials you buy for the classroom. The number of children in the program and the available space and storage should also be considered. You will want to choose toys that are safe, appropriate, and interesting for the children. So for program goals, your classroom toys and equipment should reflect your program goals. If a program goal is to have the children develop language skills, then language materials should be in the classroom, and so on and so forth. Your budget. When purchasing items for your class, you will need to stay within a budget. To do this, you're going to have to first purchase the basics like your furniture, tables, chairs, that kind of thing, and shelving. And then see what kind of money you have left, and then start filling in with the other needed materials. Balance. You got to have a balance. Examining program goals will help you decide what toys and equipment might be purchased. Before buying, however, you need to review each item to decide if it will add balance to the items that you already have available in your classroom. So you might want to ask yourself questions like, can the item be used with other toys? Will it help children reach the program goals that are not met sufficiently with the current toys or materials that we have in the classroom? Will it promote interaction with peers and other children? Will it help balance in all areas of development, physical, cognitive, social, and emotional? Does it represent a variety of cultures? And if the answer to those questions is yes, then those might be a good thing that would bring balance to the materials that you already have. Space, you got to keep in mind the space that you need in the storage space. So you got to think about where you're going to store it and then where the children are going to use it, okay? Especially large pieces of equipment. A lot of centers may have an indoor jungle gym inside, but if you don't have the space, then it's not, of course, it would not be of quality and not be very useful to your program. You must have quality supervision. It's vital for safety. So you need to really consider the number of people it takes to supervise the children while using that toy or equipment, okay? And see, actually, will you be able to do that? All toys and equipment require some sort of maintenance. So if it requires lots of maintenance, especially maintenance that might be expensive that you're going to have to pay out every year, then that might be something that you don't want to do. Children's toys, of course, need to be durable. Children drop, bang, stand on them, sit on them, lie on them. When angry, they may even throw them. So broken toys can pose a danger to children. So we need to make sure that we choose toys that are durable. Wood and cloth are two materials that are durable, warm, and pleasurable for children. Quantity. The quantity of toys can be as important when purchasing materials as the quality. In most classrooms, it is common to find 2 or more children playing with the same toys. So to promote this type of cooperation, supply an ample number of toys and materials for the children. When choosing toys, you need to make sure that you keep them simple. Children do not have freedom to express themselves if there is too much detail in the toys. Unstructured toys, such as blocks and paints, encourage the children to use their imaginations. And then child involvement. So let's take a little bit closer look at child involvement. Choose toys that will actively involve children. Toys should move children to explore, manipulate, invent, and problem solve. In this way, children learn for themselves. They need to be able to use their imaginations. So we maybe want to avoid things that are called spectator toys. And these are like battery operated cars, talking dolls, those types of things that require very little interaction on the child's part. Okay. We want to choose, like I said, simple toys. Too much detail limits their imagination. So we want more open-ended type materials which free children to use their minds and express their creativity. Children's physical age and developmental age are often quite different. Physical age is the age determined by your birth, okay, or your birth date. It's sometimes referred to as chronological age, okay? However, a developmental age refers to a child's skill and growth level compared to typical skills for that physical age group. So just because you're 5 doesn't mean that you do all the things that are typical of a 5-year-old. So we want to make sure that we provide toys and equipment in our classroom that meets that developmental age, so that they're developmentally appropriate for children, and that the toys are teaching tools for the children. Toys and materials that are multicultural represent a people from a variety of cultures. These items are an essential part of a multicultural curriculum that teaches respect for people of all cultures. Multicultural toys and materials encourage children to explore the world's diversity. It helps them learn to appreciate others by understanding similarities and differences. A critical issue teachers face is the use of technology in the early childhood classroom. Content may be delivered through music, movies, television, video games, and other applications or apps. Media technologies include computers, smartphones, interactive whiteboards, tablets, video cameras, and printers. Computers, tablets, and other media use should foster the children's learning, imagination, and creativity. They basically should complement all the other activities that are going on in the classroom and social interaction. Computers cannot replace physical activity or play with puzzles, blocks, books, and other materials. The American Academy of Pediatrics says that media screen time should be avoided for children under the age of 18 months. I want you to think about that for just a second. Under the age of 18 months, they don't need to be on a screen. And I tell you, I see lots and lots and lots of children that are on screens long before they're 18 months of age. Like sometimes I think parents just give their children those telephones and they kind of serve as a babysitter. High quality programs should be chosen for 18 to 24-month-old children. However, they just don't watch it. While watching it, if they're 18 to 24, the caregiver should be helping the children understand what they're seeing. Young children need one-to-one interaction to develop language and cognitive skills. Limitations for children aged 2 to 5 should be 1 hour per day on a screen. 2 to 5 years old, 1 hour per day. Okay. Computers are common in early childhood classrooms, and studies show benefits for children older than 3 who use a computer. Computers can stimulate children's cognitive, language, and social development. But these benefits are greatest when developmentally appropriate software is used with supporting the activities. And always adults should practice discretion when choosing what type of digital technology children use. And always before letting a child get on a certain app or a game, you should be doing a trial yourself, looking at it, participating, doing it long before you ever bring it in for the children to use. So to promote safety, choose toys carefully. Serious injuries can result from poor toy selection. So one of the things we want to make sure is that we avoid toys that have broken pieces, get them out of our classrooms. Don't purchase or purge things that are in our classroom that have sharp edges or points. If they have small parts, smaller than 1 inch in diameter, they're a choking hazard, especially for children 3 and under. Okay, so 1 inch in diameter, choking hazard. We don't want them in there. Toxic materials in or own toys. Sometimes older toys. A lot of times people will donate toys to your classroom or give you things when they're cleaning out. But a lot of times older toys contain lead paint, which can be toxic for children. We want to also avoid balloons. Well, that's also a choking hazard if you're blowing up a balloon. But if you, when you're exhaling, but if you were to inhale, you can suck it down into your windpipe. So we want to avoid that. Toys with small bead-like items inside of them, because of course, if those toys break, the beads spill, and then those can also pose a choking risk. Pull toys with long cords or strings, you know what that is. If the string might get wrapped around the child's neck, it could be a hazard as well. Okay, it could cause strangulation. So let's talk a little bit about classrooms. A lot of times when we think about toys and environments, remember, we only think about indoor, but we need to think about outdoor as an extension of our classroom. So it should be an extension of our toys and materials. There are 4 components that contribute to safe playgrounds. Supervision. Playgrounds must be designed so that all children are visible to the caregiver. Okay, so they have to be laid out so that you can see all the children on the playground all at one time. Proper developmental design. Playgrounds should be age appropriate, and equipment should be designed so that it is closer to the ground. Protective surfacing or shock absorbers are the 3rd component. Protected surfacing is essential for reducing life-threatening head injuries. And lastly, maintenance. Equipment maintenance is the 4th component of safe playgrounds. Well-maintained playgrounds provide greater protection and help minimize risk. So how are we going to choose the equipment that we put on our playground? Playground equipment may consist of stationary equipment, wheel toys, wading pools or sprinklers, and also a shaded resting area. Stationary equipment is the most costly and difficult to choose. Selecting playground equipment may be the job of the director. However, sometimes the teachers are asked for suggestions in helping with this process. So one thing to keep in mind is safety. When it comes to playground equipment, safety should always be the main concern. Many children are injured each year on outdoor playgrounds. Choosing equipment with safety in mind can reduce the number of serious injuries. If a piece of equipment is free from safety hazards, it still might not be safe for all children, okay, in that particular program. So sometimes you have to consider these things. Is it safe? Is there enough space for the children on the playground for that piece of equipment? Can it be anchored properly? Appeal, it's got to be appealing. If the equipment does not appeal to the children, they're not going to use it. So sometimes you may even ask the children or take an interest in seeing what it is that they like to do so that you can make sure that it would appeal to them. Maintenance. Just like we said with toys, same thing with playground equipment. When you buy expensive playground equipment, you need to think about the maintenance and if it's going to cost you every single year to maintain, or if you buy things that are not durable and then you have to replace them in a couple of years, then that might not need to be something that you take into consideration. Cost. Purchasing a playground is a huge cost. So a lot of times you have to think about when you, not only are you buying it, but the delivery of it. Who's going to install it? That's going to cost you something. Who's going to maintain it? That might cost you something. So the cost is not just what you buy and how much it costs you to get that material. It's all the other things that go along with it. Before you begin selecting new toys and equipment, take an inventory of materials that you have on hand. And after this is done, you need to compare your inventory with your program goals. You can visit catalogs, websites, and begin to kind of price search and make sure that you look for the best prices when you are buying your toys and equipment, making sure that you meet all the other criteria, because remember, sometimes things can be inexpensive, but they're going to break. Okay. So instead of buying it once, you might buy it every other year because you bought it cheaply to begin with, and then you had to replace it. Another thing to think about is consumable supplies, clay, paper, paint, glue, art materials. Those are all consumable supplies. And what a consumable supply means is once it's used, it's gone. Okay. So a lot of times centers may put in their orders for consumable supplies all at the beginning of the year to save on shipping and that kind of thing. So always take into consideration your consumable supplies. So thanks for joining me again for Chapter 10. Make sure that you look through your Blackboard course and do your supplemental materials as well as your assignment and your quiz. Thanks again for joining me. See you next week.